Today on Restixin, we are going to make these fantastic kitschy embellished ornaments. Hey everybody, it's Teresa with Restixin.com, and I'm back with another ornament tutorial for our mod-inspired Christmas tree. Now, since I wanted this tree to look like the 60s, it had to include some of these satin threaded ornaments. These balls were everywhere. This plastic ornament covered in these tiny little threads, and I think that they are so classic and so fantastic. But I also couldn't leave well enough alone. So instead of just leaving this to be the classic threaded ball, I had to take it up a level and make it super kitsch. So let me show you step by step how to do that. Here I've got all my supplies so beautifully laid out. The first thing you'll need is an ornament to embellish, of course. And this is what inspired my whole project. I found a huge bag of these thread-covered ornaments at a thrift store, which is a great place to go looking for them because the thread-covered ones aren't sold that often anymore. They're very retro, kitschy, and the thread can snag and be kind of a pain in the butt. And so they don't really sell them that often anymore. But if you look at a thrift store, you can find them. And once we embellish them, then it'll kind of solve that snagging problem because there will be layers to protect that thread. Now, it's important to know what's going on underneath here. Sometimes it's plastic, which is what's going on in my case, and sometimes it's styrofoam. If it's styrofoam, then you can use these little pearl-headed pins and create all kinds of cool patterns. But if it's plastic, like mine, that won't work. So it's good to know what you're getting yourself into. I'm still going to use those pins. It's just going to require an extra step. So from here, I mean, you can just pull out your glue gun and your beads and your sequins and your ribbon and go to town. For my particular design, I found this wide rickrack, and I'm going to start with just putting that all the way around the middle. Now I'm going to add my large sequins. And like I said, you can invent whatever pattern you want. I'm just going to put, 4 large sequins on the top and on the bottom. Now for my next layer, I'm going to add these little pearl beads, and I'm going to top those off with one of these pearl-headed pins. So you get these little layers of the pearls stacked up on top of each other. But after a lot of trial and error, I realized the easiest way to do this is to glue these two pieces together before you put them on the ball so that these holes are easier to line up. So since mine's made of plastic and I can't just stick the pins in, I'm going to grab some wire cutters and just snip the end of that pin right off. Like that. And then a little hot glue on top of that pearl and stick that pin in. So now you don't have to worry about lining up the holes. And I'm going to add this right on top of one of my sequins. Like that. So I'm going to keep doing that for all of my big sequins, adding the 2 extra pearls to get that kind of stack. If you're having trouble keeping it stuck, just use a lot of glue and just let it come up over the sides. Sometimes if you're not, if it's not balanced on that hole, it can have trouble adhering. So a little extra glue to let it come up just gives it more surface area to stick in place, and it'll make it stronger. I've got hot glue strings all over my hands. Since we're just making up this pattern as we go along, you can stop at any time that it looks finished to you, but I want to add as much bling to this ornament as possible. So I'm going to take these little sequins and just kind of sprinkle them around our little pearl stacks here before I call this finished. So remember to be careful for your fingers if you don't have the calluses that I have. And don't get too carried away working ahead, because the glue will cool very fast, and if it dries before you get your sequin in, that gets really messy in a hurry, because then you just keep adding glue and keep adding glue, and it stops looking cute after a while. Then you are done and it's ready to hang from your tree. I love how these wacky little walls turned out. And by adding the embellishments that we did, we're actually reinforcing these so they'll look great for a long, long time. Sometimes these little threads can get snagged and start to unravel, but by gluing this stuff in place, we're reinforcing that and helping it to avoid that fate. These balls were everywhere for so many years that you can still find them really easily. I got mine just at my local thrift store. They're always on eBay. You won't find them in retail stores very often because they're so old-fashioned, but that's okay because there are plenty available online. So if you have any questions, be sure to leave them down below and I'll help you out. I hope that this will inspire you to make something this year and have a little fun creating something. And be sure and subscribe so that you can see that final result of how these trees look when they're all done. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.